those who fought in the Battle of Britain, it was a battle for survival. For the free world, it was a breathless moment in history. For failure would have plunged mankind into a new dark age. Never have so many owed so much to so few.
So hello guys, welcome to my third catch-up show for the Spitfire. Today I'm going to be planning to do 3 issues. I do apologise about stopping where I stopped before on Friday. This desk isn't brilliant for building, and after a couple of hours my back gets a bit sore, and I think I did an awful lot in that one show. So again, I do apologise. I'm planning on doing 3 issues, but I reserve the right to cut that down to 2 partway through the show if there should be any problems. Any problems means my back goes or anything like that. And my jumper is terrible. Anyway, as always, I have a co-host with me, and today my co-host is Chris Davis. Well, how are you? Do you know what? I'm going to make a confession. I actually thought I was going to be doing the show on my own. When I hit the live button, I was actually, Chris was obviously running a little bit late. Are you all right, Chris?
No, do you know what I've done? I must have clicked on the wrong studio one, because I thought, I was wondering where you was. I thought
that's fair enough. Obviously, I hadn't seen there, and I just sort of carried on as though you weren't going to be here. And then as I was doing the intro, you popped in. So always really happy to see you.
No, I just clicked on the wrong link.
Yeah. So, well, the good thing is, Chris, it means you haven't got to pull the magazine up because I've done it for you. It's all ready to go. Yeah, I mean, not a lot been happening the last couple of days. I've been busy doing this, that, and the other. To be honest with you, it's funny that 2 or 3 days ago, I was really raring to go with the Spitfire, and I had, 7, 12, 18 issues to do, something like that. And it was like, I want to get on with it. Now that I've done how many I've done, I'm not... It's one of those things that, hey, if I say it wrong, it'll come out the wrong way. I want to get it done, but I don't want to get it all done in one go. I've never been an advocate of, as you know, we get these issues, 4 issues come every 4 weeks. I've never really been a big fan of getting them all done on the day that you get them, because then you're waiting like 3 weeks and 6 days for the next 4 issues. But you do often get the issues where you're like, oh, I'd like another one. And I think I was like that on Thursday, and now I'm there's been a bit of progression. We're going to finish the flaps off today, make a start on the fuselage. I've had a little sneaky peek at the next issues that we're not going to be doing today, but we'll do them in the future. And wow, it's really just starting to grow. Did you remember we had like a little bit? We had the engine and we had the propeller, and then that went together. And then all of a sudden, it just went with the wings. Now it's starting to do that with the fuselage. And if it all goes as planned, at the end of this show, we are going to be halfway through the build, not halfway through the model, because I am led to believe that the model is going to be complete by issue 100. But the complete build with the base and everything, or the diorama, is 120 issues, and we're planning on doing 58, 59, and 60. So, without further ado, shall we start on the build? So this is issue 58 cover, and do you want to read them out, or do you want me to, Chris? Because this is going to be a slight surprise for you, because you haven't got it loaded up on your computer, have you?
I can get it if you want me to.
It's up to you, Chris. I'll make a start while you're loading that up then.
Yeah.
So today we're going to be doing connecting. Whoops. Wrong one. Right, connecting the cable for the wing flaps. And let me pull up. I'm just going to pull. There we go. Let me move to my, what should we call this today? Bitcam. As you know, I'm terrible with the cameras. If I was, I'm actually considering using OBS, so I can use my Stream Deck then, and I can just click buttons to change views. I do love my Stream Deck, but with OBS, it's very hard to do a stream with more than one person. Yeah, so Right, so issue 58, we have got piece 1, 58.1 is the end of the left wing flap, and that's this piece here.
I got some
Have you got it? Have you got it up, Chris?
I have, yeah.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Let me just finish this off then, and then you can take over.
Okay.
So this is the hinge for the left wing flap. This is black plastic. Well, it's either painted plastic, but it's black and it is plastic.
Okay.
So, and then 58.3 is a sprue. This is the cable fixings for the left wing. This is A and B. Now these look different. These are different. So
that's it, then it's good, isn't it?
yeah, and I can see why you will discover why in a bit, because these next three parts you're going to go, oh, they look familiar. So part 4 is the end of the right wing flap. Does that look familiar to you to part 1?
Yeah.
Basically, it's the same part, but on the other side. So we've got 58.5, which is the hinge for the right wing flap, which you will notice is very similar to the one for the left. And as you probably see, most of you already have spotted it, is an L and an R. And I am just become aware that I've missed the chat, so I will catch up with that. And then we have 6 is the cable fixings for the right wing. So now that I said that they were different, but as you can see, they're actually the same, but different colors and probably mirror images of each other. Then we have piece 7, which is 2 wing hinges, 2 hinge pins, sorry. Now there's no spares this week. We did get a spare on one of the issues, so I'm not going to cut that open until I need them. We also have 58.8, 3 2x4mm PWM screws, and these are flange screws, I think they call them. I call them top hat screws. So these tend to be for clamping something down, if you want to hold something down. And then in this bag we have 2 screws. We have the black ones are 59.9. They're 2x6mm PWB screws. They're the top hat ones. And then we have 3 1.4x3mm PM screws. They are the silver ones. And that is the part. So we have got Dave Mack. Thank you for commenting first, Dave Mack. Good evening, Penny and Chris. Good luck with your build tonight. Horlick says, hi, Penny. Hope the build goes well. You're really making progress. Now, I watched a little bit of one of your Spitfire streams, and I actually thought you were well ahead of me. So I didn't look in too much detail because I didn't want the spoiler so much, you understand? But I had a little flick through my remaining mags, and you're actually not millions of miles in front. So that kind of got my juices going again for that. So I think that what you were building the other night is only about 4 issues ahead of, well, about 6 or 7 issues ahead of this. But by the end of the night, it's not going to be too far. So that's kind of got me all excited. And then Mike Tedstone says, hello all.
Hi, Mike.
So, right. So step 1, do you want me to enlarge this for you, Chris?
Do you want me to share my screen? I can enlarge it on my side if
Yeah,
you want.
get your screen on then to share, Chris.
Yeah, go on
So
now.
this is what happens when things happen last minute. Right, so there's Chris's to just share screen share. Screen share. We'll get the words out one day.
So step 1 are we on, is it?
I am struggling with my words today. Maybe I should just shut up and hope that my screwdriver skills aren't as bad as my speaking skills.
Put the screw in there. Probably tells you that.
Okay, so what are we doing for step 1 then, Chris?
Yeah, just bring the monitor close up. Oh, check that one. 2 seconds. Just when trying to pull the monitor, just keep the cable just pulled up. 2 seconds. So, I don't know what I'm doing today. Right. Step 1 then. Fix the 2 flanges with holes on the side of the hinge for the left wing flap 58.2 into the slot in the wing flap section 58.1 as indicated.
Lovely. Sorry, I thought there was more to that. Right, so we've got piece number 1, which is this wing flap.
Yeah.
And you see the orientation is this way round, and I know that because you've got this little part there. That's my little landmark, so to speak. And then we have piece number 2, and it looks like this orientation. Now here you've got 2 little holes, and that is going to line up with this piece here, like so. And I think most of us is going to know what's coming next, but that is going to create a little tunnel. Can you see through there? And then if you have it just off, you see that. So yeah. So we know what's coming in stage 2, but do you want to read it out, Chris?
Yeah, of course, yeah. Fit the A hinge pin 587 through the first hole on the hinge 582. Then through the tubular section. I think I said that right, I don't know.
Tubular.
Oh, tubular.
That was the word I couldn't think of. Tubular. So what I've just shown you was, yeah.
Of the wing flap section 581 and into the second hole in the hinge 582. Note that the smooth end of part 57 goes in first. Use the point of a pair of fine nose pliers or similar to push the pin firmly in place. Basically like what do you call it? A locking pin.
I don't know. I don't think it's going to be a locking pin, but I can't tell you for certain until I've actually cut the parts open. So that we're going to need this little hinge pins.
Yeah.
And I always have a concern with these because these don't go in tight. And to be honest with you, they don't want to go in tight because what's obviously going to happen here is this piece wants to move freely. So if that hinge pin goes in tight, that's not going to move. So it's not really going to be a locking pin, but it's very similar to the locking pins that we've used, especially on the saying that. Yes. So if you notice on the end of the hinge pin, there's some little detail. It's a little bit fatter. So what's obviously going to happen is as we put that in, once it goes in all the way, this little I can't think of the word, but there's like a little rough bit, and that's going to wedge into this piece there. But it will allow the rest of it to move freely. So this pin, so that pin will move with this, but not with this. So what we need to do is line this up, and we need to play. I think the easiest way to do it, if it's going to let us, see how this is going to go in freely. Yeah. But if we push it in any further, it's going to lock into place. So it's going to be a little bit fiddly because we've got to line it all up properly. Can you see me trying to line this up? So we'll get the pin into this one.
I remember that.
Yeah. Then we need to bring it into this tubular bit there. But the hardest bit is going to be lining up. I can't do this. It's just a little bit too. There we go. So it's gone into this bit there. But you've now got to line this last bit up. And it's got to go through. And then you've got to finish that off with pliers because you want to push. You see that pin is just sticking out there.
Yeah.
You want to push that in. At the moment, let's see, it's not connected with the end. So what you've got to do is get some pliers or something onto that and get this bit exactly lined up. And do you know what? Pliers, I think, is something that I don't have handy, so I'm going to try and do it with tweezers. I don't know if it'll work with tweezers.
Or use your desk pen, I would.
I think that's going to be a little bit too tricky because
that's why I did it before. See if it got in. Yeah.
But you see, if it doesn't go in, it might not be because it's too stiff. It might be because you've not got this bit lined up. This is what happens when Penny's not organised. If I had my bench vise, that would work perfectly.
The sprue cutters would work.
The what cutters?
The sprue cutters.
No, because the sprue cutters are designed to cut sprues,
No, I mean, instead of using the cut door, use it as a blade.
Yeah, but if I use the sprue cutters, Chris, it's going to damage the end of the sprue cutters.
Okay, yeah, okay.
And also, it's the sprue cutters aren't going to open that far. So
I don't mean that. Just when it closed, that's what I mean. Push it with the blade. Yeah, but if it that.
Yeah, I understand what you're trying to say, Chris.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a struggle for me because I've done it. So I've managed to push it in. So, but actually, you can see there the hinge has just come out the other end. So it's now stuck in there. And it's come out that end. If that bit there, I think where I struggled the first couple of tries, I think I didn't quite have that hole lined up. So this is what you're going to end up with. And that looks like it's perfect. Now, Dave Mack, I am aware of your comment, but because this is the left flap, I'll bring that comment up when we get to the right wing flap. And it looks like we've got the same problem with these as we did with the actual main flaps. But that is stage 2 done. So now you've got a hinge and a flap.
Yeah.
Okay. So what is stage 3 then, Chris?
Yeah. Stage 3 is a huge. I'm going to really slowly.
It looks like it's going to be a really technical issue today. So all those that like lots of fiddly bits, you're going to really love this issue.
Yeah, place the model assembly on your worktop and identify the fixing point for the wing flap section and hinge. In the gap at the inner end of the left-hand wing flap, 54-1 circled. Let's go to this bit then. Wave the wing flap slightly downwards. Fit the pin on the end of the part 54-1 into the socket on the wing flap section 58-1 above right.
Yeah. Lovely.
And it's got another bit of view as well. Can we read this last bit?
Yeah.
Yeah, flap the hinge 58-2 down so that the holes in the hinge fit over the raised sockets on the left wing. The grooved arm of the hinge fits over the cable of part 481 right.
Right. So what this is asking us to do is this hole there is going to go over this hole there on the flap. Can you see that hole sticking out? But at the same time, we've got 2 screw holes there and it wants to line up. So if you just put the screw on, you see there, I don't know if you can see that, but the pin's not lined up. So what we're going to have to do, the easiest way to do it is to bring this hinge up as much as you can, like that. In its natural position, it will sit like that, but we want to bring it up like this. We want to bring that flap. We can move this because this is at the moment, this is free moving because there's no motors or anything. It's these other flaps that we don't want to touch. So we just bring this into a position that we like, get that on there, and you see that's now connected. Once we've got that up, we can then just maneuver everything around so that the flap, now I'll just bring this in as a close-up. So there's the flap we've just put in. Then we've just brought this hinge down to go there. And now I can see why we've got flange screws, because the screw's going to go into that screw hole, but it's going to push all of this down. So a little bit of an advanced bit for you. So that will take us to step 4.
Yeah.
Which is
there's a bit confusing because of the way it's been done in the map.
Yeah, it's step 3 is really long and they've used 3 pictures. Step 4 has got 2 lines of instruction.
Yeah, use a PM 2x4 mil screw to fix the hinge section 50 who place in place as indicated.
Okay, so PWM 2x4, that is a silver. These screws are really easy to identify because we've got black and white flange screws and small silver screws. So in this case, we want it's probably going to be easier rather than saying PWM 2x4. It's just as easy to think of them as silver flange screws. Yeah. So I'll get one of those out. This actually isn't, when I looked at the instructions, I thought, oh, that's a complicated build today, especially looking at the amount of instructions. But in actual fact, it's once you got halfway through the instructions, you're just going to do the same again. So it's actually not that difficult. So this hole that I said that now I can see why it's a flange screw, that's where it's going to go. So, and there's only the one screw to deal with, because it looks like we'll deal with this other screw hole later on in either this issue or in the build. I will confess I've not looked that far ahead. So screw that in fairly tight, and then now you can see that, I don't know if you can see it, when this flap moves, this little one moves as well. It doesn't look that tight. It's a little bit of wobble, but what's obviously going to happen is to move this flap, the mechanism's going to go on this little flap. So this flap is going to move that flap. I thought this flap was going to be having the motor attached, but it looks like this does. I might still be wrong, but there you go. That's that. Yeah. So what we got for step 5? Step 5's looked more complicated when it's got 2 pictures.
Yeah, take part A from frame 53. Fit the anchor on the end of the fine wire cable 5710 into part A, so that the wire runs through the slot as indicated. The photo below shows the cable threaded into part A.
Right. So it says part, there is no way of knowing just from the sprue which is part A and which is part B. But going back to the instructions, it looks like this smaller one is part A. And then actually looking at the step 5, it does look like that is definitely the part we're looking at. It's quite difficult to see because it's a black part. And if you look at the photo, there's lots of black background.
Yeah.
But I am 99.9% sure that this is part A, and if it's not, the part just won't fit. So what we need to do is holding it this way, see this little bit of line there on the end, that needs to be upwards.
Yeah.
And what we need to do is take the thread and thread that underneath and up. I think not. Oh, that's got to go through it, right through it.
Yeah.
And then that will connect. Gosh. Ah, right. Yeah, so I'm trying to connect it there. But this is it. This is the stage done. That is what we need to do. We need to connect that. But yeah, okay. So I'm going to do that again because I was kind of discovering it as we went. Because the first time I looked at it, I thought it's got this little brass bit on the end, and that's obviously a stopper. So you need to thread it through and kind of twist it 90 degrees. And that is step 5. But what that's going to do is, because when it's twisted the correct way, that stopper is going to be, oh, I can't do it now. Do you know what? When I was discovering it, it just kind of did it. Right. So when it's, can you see that now, because I've twisted it back, it's not going to come out and it's stuck in there. But we do need to pull that through because we've got step 6, which Chris is about to read.
Where's that now, Will?
Yes, step 6. Because that is the end of step 5. Again, they've drawn the instructions out a little bit more than, well, it depends on your ability to digest information. You know, if you're perhaps a younger kid who might just need a little bit more patience, this might be spot on. You know, this is the beauty of this model, is that it has been designed for all ages and skill ranges.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, position part A on the shaped recesses and raised screw socket on the wing flap 54-1. Adjust the firing wire cable so that the anchor on the end is clear of the screw hole and arranged vertically as shown. Use a PM times 1.4 times 3 mil screw to fix part A in place, anchoring the end of the fine wire cable. Note that the fine wire cable runs through the groove in the arm of the hinge part 58-2, yellow arrow.
Right. Okay. So it looks to me like forget the groove for initially.
Yeah.
Take this part. Now on the flap, that was the metal flap that we did last issue, or the last issues, can you see that there's a little circle there and there's a little groove running around it? That's the housing for this part here. So what we're going to do, and we need to pull this wire through because we need the space to put the screw in, but that's going to go in like that, and that's going to be really difficult to see because it's black on black.
Yeah.
But by having this, I've lost the other end. Needing tweezers. Get some tweezers, guys, because you're going to pull the other end of the cable through. Right. So give yourself a bit of space. I've just knocked the screwdriver over. Right. And we just need to just start that screw off. There's a screw going to go through the middle there, and I know you can't see because my finger's in the way. Right. So I have just, there we go. So I've got my little screw ready.
Yeah.
And we're just going to pop that in. Now, I've always said I always just start the screw off, just pop it in enough till it bites. I would say that that's probably a must, because now we've got that little piece there. Now we need to refer to the rest of the instructions. And what we've got, if we just move the rest of this wire out of the way, just above where we've put that part in, there's a groove there. Can you see that groove? It's very hard to see. There we go, that's a better view. So that groove there, now we need to worry about that, and we need that to come up through that groove. Okay, now it might well be that where we've screwed this in, we might have just trapped this. So by just doing that loose, we know it's going to run through. So now we know that's going to run through, we can finish that screw off. So supporting the wing flap from underneath, finish that screw off, keep that cable out of the way, and hopefully there'll be enough gap in there for that little stopper to just pull that back. There we go. It doesn't look pretty, but it looks functional. So what we've got there is we've got the housing, we've got the end of the wire runs up through there, and that then takes us to step 7. And now I understand what that second part is for. So let me do a bit of a catch up. Again, Dave, I'm going to miss your comment out, but I'm going to refer back to it. I'll mention it, but then I'll go back to it again. So Dave Mack says, the small part for the right wing flap is the one that sticks. Too much paint on it, so you'll have to file it down to loosen it. I've got to do mine yet. So this is, I think it's the problem with the green paint that they use, because we never seem to get these issues with the black painted parts. But the reason I want to leave this till later is I'd bring it up when we get to the right wing flap, but I'll come to it. So Chris Davis says, hi all. Justin Summerfield, hi Penny, good video. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And he says, hi Dave Mack. And then I think you've got some kind of repeat last comment on your computer. And then Dave Mack says hi back to him. Right, so step 7 then, Chris.
Yeah.
And while you read this out, I'm just going to cut this piece off the sprue. I don't like doing the stages while you're still reading them out, but I'm just preparing the parts.
Yeah, no, so take part B from frame 53 Identify the fixing point for it on the frame of the left wing, 23-1. Note the orientation of the ridge on the top of part B, yellow arrow, slots in the bottom of the part, fit over ribs in the frame. Red arrow. The diagram on the right shows the part in place.
Right. Okay. So what we've got is we've got a roundy bit at the top.
Yeah.
And then we've got kind of a hole, but we've got a line cut through it. Now I can see that it's going to go over the cable like this. So can you see that the hole, just like the bit in the motor housing, we've got the cable's going to run through the middle there. And I'm just trying to identify the fixing point. I think the fixing point is here because it's next to a screw that we've already put in and not too far from the wires there. So just there's a screw hole. And I now think the reason there's 3 notches in there, if you can see those 3 notches, 2 of them is for the wire, but the 3rd one is to get around this part here, which means we can only put this in the correct way. So let me give it a try, and that's perfect. So you see that's sitting there like that?
Yeah.
Because these notches have been cut exact, and you see there's 3 bits, there is only one way you can do it. So I'm going to, again, be careful here because you've got a lot of slack. I suggest when we do the next one, there's not going to be so much slack, but I'm just going to run that thread through there. Again, I apologize. So you see that's running through there. I'm keeping this as tight as I can.
Yeah.
I'm just going to place that onto there like so. And I don't want to test. Can I test it? That looks like I've clamped it in wrong because that's not running through there. Right, I wonder, bear with me a sec. Sorry, the magazine is shiny and black on black.
Yeah, there's no help, is it?
I think, right, bear with me. I'm going to look at the rest of the magazine. Right, okay, I've actually done it completely wrong. So what we've done here is the thread does not go through there. This is purely to make sure you put this into the correct place. This actually goes in, as I've just said, but then this channel at the top, that's where the thread goes. So you don't need to worry about all that I've said. You put that in like so. I not want to go in. Right. So in there like so. Then we have you read? Yeah, you read 7 out, haven't you? We are doing step 7, aren't we?
Yeah.
Right. So that's interesting because it's not telling us to put a screw in, but it tells us to put a screw in on the right. Okay, so listen guys, sorry, I apologize. So it's not told us to put a screw in yet, but it's now going to tell us to start all over again, but on the other side. Then when we get to that point on the other side, it's then going to tell us to put the screw in, which is step 14. Then it's going to tell us to do the same thing on the, yeah. So can we jump to step 14 and secure that? Or should we? No, I understand what's happening. Right, so if we screw this in now, I've found it quite useful to pull the threads backwards and forwards to give myself more room. If we screw this down now, it's going to give us less play on the other side. So I'm suggesting that perhaps they've done the instructions in the correct order. So I'm not going to screw this down yet because it's not told us to. Because like you see, I've got all this excess to play with on the other side. So let's go to step 8, which is pretty much a repeat of step 1 onwards. Oh, I've confused the matter there. I do apologize. But as you kind of build it, you know, sometimes they do the instructions in what seems like a funny order. And it seemed like a funny order, but actually, I wonder if they're done in quite a sensible order.
Yeah.
So, right. So what's step 8 then?
Yeah. Fit the flanges with holes on the hinge 58.5 into the slots at the end of the tubular section of the wing flap, section 58.4, as indicated.
Okay, and step 9. We'll go straight into step 9 because it's the same, isn't it?
We'll dive into it, shall we?
Yeah, it's the same as step 2, and it brings this next procedure together rather than doing half a procedure and then half a procedure.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Step 9: fit the second hinge pin 58.7 through the first hole in part 58.5 through the tubular section of part 58.4. And into the section, in the second, hole in part 58.5. Note that the smooth end goes in first. Push the hinge pin firmly in place.
Right. So this is a good point to bring up Dave Mack's comment again, because this is the right wing flap. And he says the small part for the right wing flap is the one that sticks. Too much paint on it, so you'll have to file it down. Now, it's going to be difficult to find out exactly at what point we filed it down enough, because once we push that pin in, that's not coming out again. But I'm putting it together and I can see there is going to be not as much stick as I'm anticipating. What I'm actually going to do, I'm going to push the pin in, but I'm not going to push it all the way. I think that will give us a guide. So you see the pin is just sticking out there. Actually, I don't think there's any sticking at all. Look.
Unless some people have had problems, maybe.
It could well be that some people have got a not as a good batch, but there's people that you know their advice is good, you trust them, and there's people that you can sort of not worry about them too much. But Dave Mack is one of those that if he says there's a problem, I will listen. So what I'm going to do, looking at the first flap and looking at this one, I can see that none of these parts are actually going to be seen in the finished model. So I think it's going to do no harm whatsoever to give that a filing.
Yeah. And
it could just be the parts are a little bit rough. So this might actually be more than enough anyway. So I'm in one of those situations where it might not make it, it might be absolutely fine without it, but I don't think it's going to do any harm to do it anyway. So now Dave Mack says you file it down when you put the first under fuselage on. I've done mine. Oh, so are you saying that I won't actually notice that it needs filing until I get future parts on? Is that what you're saying, Dave? So I might actually be filing in the wrong place then. But this won't do the movement any harm.
Yeah, just look at the next comment if said.
Bottom. Okay. So he's saying that one of these edges, probably this edge or that edge. Do you know what? I can see, feeling it. I can see. Yeah, it's going to be. Yeah. So, what are you saying then? That I won't know what I need to file off until I get to that stage. Right. Okay. My apologies. Then I thought you actually meant it was going to be this one, and it didn't shock me when you said that, because we had a slight issue with the green side on the wheels. We had a slight issue on the green flap. So to have a slight issue on this green one isn't really a complete shock. And I think with the paint, they use, for the black, I think they use more of a primer, whereas the green, it's not actually a primer. I had a similar situation with when I used to paint model figures. The primer that the black primer is really nice and thin, and it's so thin that you could actually spray on too much primer and it would just preserve the detail, no problems. But then they brought some colored primers out, and it was quite thick, and it's obviously to do with the pigments that they use for the colors. That one's not going in as easily as the last.
Yeah.
I stand by the fact that I think I've not quite got that hole lined up. I don't think it's difficulty getting the pin in. There's really hardly any margin for error whatsoever with this. If you're slightly in the wrong position, it's not going in. And of course, if I was using pliers, that would be a lot easier. And actually, if I fold this right back, that seems to be a bit, yeah, look, I know I can see that I've got this wrong. It's got to be exactly right. There we go. Once you get it in exactly the right position, it will go in, because you see that. Can you see the pin? Can you see it is exactly the same. It's exactly the same width as the hole. So you imagine you just get that 1/10 of a millimeter out, then it's not going to go through. So I'm happy that that's gone through fine. I'm happy that that's got plenty of movement. So that is brilliant, and I'm going to be looking at stage 10 now, Chris.
Yeah, 10 down the street, is it?
No. No. No politics on this show.
Joking, I watch. That's what it is, yeah.
Right, so stage 10, Chris.
Yeah, I've described for the left wing, fit the right wing flap section 58.4 and hinge 58.5 in place next to the end of the right wing flap 55.1, I mean. Fit the pin on part 55.1 into the socket in part 58.4, blue arrow. Then flap the hinge down, so the hinge 58.5 down, so that the raised sockets on the wing fit into the holes in the hinge section. Circled cable circled the grooved arm of part 58.5 I mean fits over the cable of part 51.1. Fix the hinge in place with a PWM 2x4 mil screw as shown. I got my words muddled then.
So actually the instructions for this flap is, you'd expect them to be exactly the same, but they're actually more detailed than before.
Yeah.
Because now they actually highlight these holes there, which if they'd have done that on the first one, I think that would have made it a bit easier. So I'm going to get my silver flange screw ready. Yeah. And exactly as we did before, what we're going to do is we're going to take our flap, we're going to hinge it up as much as we can. It won't quite go 90 degrees. And then what we're going to do is, however we can, we get that, the little pin on the flap there needs to go into that hole. Then holding both the new flap and the old flap, we just need to pop that over there. And one thing I forgot to say, this part of the hinge there, it's got a little cutout, and that's designed to go over this wire, the wire that controls the flaps. Yeah. Really, really good, clever engineering. And then what we're going to do is we're going to pop the screw into there. And again, I always just pop it in enough to bite. In fact, this one I'm going to go all the way. I'm going to go almost all the way. Right. Then we can check everything's in place. I'm happy with that. So now I'm going to tighten that up as much as we can.
Yeah.
Don't give it the force of Genghis Khan's assembled hordes. because you'll screw through the plastic, but that needs to be nice and tight, and there you can see everything's working together, which is what it's meant to do.
Yeah, like an aeroplane does, doesn't it?
Yeah. So that's step 10 done. So now on to step 11. And while you read that, because we've seen these parts before, I'm just going to cut these off the screws and get them ready for when we need them. So step 11.
Yeah, legs 11. Take part C from the frame 586. Thread an anchor on the end of the fine wire cable 5710 through part C so that the wire runs through the slot as indicated.
Right. So because this one is green, I think it's going to be a lot easier to explain what I did on the last side. So this is exactly the same. In fact, it is actually exactly the same. So we've got a little raised bit on one side, we've got a hole in the middle, and we've got a groove there as well. And what we're going to do is we're going to get this cotton thread, whatever, nylon thread, with a little brass stopper on the end. We're just going to thread that in through the middle. Now you'll notice that this stopper is rectangular, not square. So you need to line it up so that it goes through. And then when we come to pull it back, we'll twist it 90 degrees. So what you've actually got is, if you imagine it's that shape, right, and we've got the hole like that, it's going to go in through the hole like that. But when it's twisted 90 degrees, it's going to stop. Yeah, it'll only go that way, but once it's twisted, it goes that way. So that is it there. And I'm going to just speed you up a bit, Chris, because step 12 is 4 lines that just basically says screw this down. So just like the previous one. So we need to place that. You can see the screw hole there, and there's a little groove around it, and that's just the housing for this part there. And that's going to go in there, but we need to just pull this back so we can access that screw hole. So, and I'm going to try and move the camera a little bit, because otherwise I'm going to block the whole camera. So again, this one I think is important. Just screw it enough to bite, just to hold that on, and then we can make sure everything's in place. And I'm going to use the tweezers for this, because getting these little fiddly threads and things. Right. So that I'm happy with. In fact, I'm going to pull this all the way through. Yeah. So actually, I said about it going in one way, twisting it, and it comes back. Actually, what's going to happen is once you get that screw in place, that's actually going to block that hole. So it's kind of a two-way thing, really. One is the shape of the actual stopper, and secondly, the fact that the screw is now blocked half of the hole for it to get through. So there we go, that's in. And we just pull that back, and you see that because of that little brass crimp bit on the end, that can't pull out. That's stuck. Okay, so next step.
13 ended it.
13, yes. In fact, it's going to be 13 and 14.
Okay, cool. So
But
14.
each 30. Can you just scroll it up a little bit? Because 13 and 14 are actually 2 pictures each.
Yeah.
So if you just bring that up, that's it. So both of all 4 of those pictures are the 2 pictures on the left are relevant to stage 13. The 2 pictures on the right, no, too far. That's it. You had it there. And the 2 pictures on the right are relevant to stage 14. Step 14.
Me, so 2 on the left, 1 up there. Yeah, stage 13 Baker's dozen. Take part D from the frame 586 and fit it onto the right wing frame 25-1. The slot on the side of part D fit over the rib of the frame as shown below. Note the positions of the rib on the rim of part the yellow arrow. That's 13. Do we do 14 as well?
Yes, please. Yeah.
Yeah, in other
Again, it's they've taken a simple stage and then split it down into two.
Yeah. Returning to the left wing, fit the fire wire cable 5710 around the rim of part B, fixed in place with a PWB 2x6mm screw, as shown below.
Right. Okay, and I'm not going to get you to read stage 15 out, because stage 15 is exactly the same as stage... Oh, excuse me, I'm so sorry. It's exactly the same as stage 14, but it's the other side. So stage 13 is just popping this little bit on. And remember, there's 3 little lines. Can you see it's so much clearer now? And that's designed to go around this part here. There's a little rib, little strengthening rib. One comes down there and one goes up, and that's where it's going to go. So those holes will coincide with the shape of those little ribs. And so you want this hole at the top at a 12 o'clock position, and this one will be at about a 10, 11 o'clock position, and then this one will be at 3 o'clock, funnily enough. So keep the cable out of the way. We just pop that in. If it doesn't go in, twist it around, because it'll find its way home if you twist it. Okay.
Yeah.
That's in there now. So that helps us with this one. You see there it is in black. It's hard to see because it's black on black. Yeah. This one, green, is there. So step 14 is to go back to this one. And what we're going to do, and we're going to do this twice, guys, because once on the left, once on the right. That's why I'm not asking Chris to call out stage 15. And I think this is why they did it in this order, because by not screwing this down, it's giving us more slack on this side. So get tweezers or something. You see that there's a little channel just there. I'll show you on the green one, but I'm doing the black one. So there's a little channel just there, right? And what we're going to do, whoops, right? So we're just going to position the nylon cable through that channel like that, and then we're going to take our screw, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to screw this almost home. In fact, actually, I'm going to do it all the way home. So do that until, because you're screwing into plastic, it'll tell you when the resistance is enough. Then I'm going to take 2 ends of this, and as you can see, that still moves freely. I would suggest that if that is not free moving, then you've just caught the cable. You just want to loosen that again, just bring it through again, then tighten it up, and then we'll just, that's as far as I want to do it with plastic. It just, because it's got a top hat screw or a flange screw, it's just to stop that thread from coming out. You see that thread's not going to fall out of there, and that's all it is. And then we can pull that fairly tight. Excuse me. And then step 15 is to do exactly the same on the other side. So, and this will be a lot clearer because it's green. So we're going to take the thread, and we can pull that through there, and then we can just bring that through. It's a good idea, I think, to just pull that as tight as you can and just perhaps poke it in. You need to make sure it's on the outside of that circle, but on the inside of that little edge there. And then we'll pop our screw in. Oops, trying not to drop it through the wheel housing. But this is another good reason to have a box. So I'm going to screw that, and you see I'm not supporting it from underneath. If I need to support it from underneath, I'm probably pushing too hard on the screwdriver. Right, so Lovely. So we've got free movement on there now. So that's good. So if I don't pull on this motor, guys, but if I pull on this cable there,
Yeah.
can you see how, oops, can you see how it's moving the flap?
Yeah.
And then this side, we do the same. So we got movement on the flap. So that motor, because it's going through a little bit, there's a little gap in the middle it runs through. As that twists, it's going to pull this inwards, which is going to pull these flaps up. And then as it turns the other way, it releases the thread and it'll let them drop. And that is the flaps complete. Well, the bottom side of the flap. So, yeah, that was all we needed to finish. But that's taken nearly an hour, in all fairness. So I'm going to be honest with you. I'm glad I didn't do this on the last stage.
Yeah.
So quick catch up before we start on stage 59. And a bit of useless information for you, apart from the fact I can't. There we are. Did anyone else notice that the quality of the paper for issue 59 and 60 seems a little bit lower? It's not, doesn't affect the build, but this, let me just move this back.
59 we are now, isn't it?
Yeah, this is issue 58, and it's the usual lovely glossy paper, lovely and white. Look, the white is really white.
Yeah.
And then 59, it's a duller, and even like look at the white bits. It's it looks like they've changed their manufacturer. Like you can see, there's even with my poor camera, you can see a difference. Doesn't affect the magazine at all. It's still good quality reading,
yeah,
and it's all readable. I just thought it's a little bit of a cost cutting exercise I think they've done there.
Yeah.
So let me do a catch up while you're sorting that out.
Got it ready for you.
So not with the ring, right. So you need pliers for that to push it in. Good evening, Penny and Chris, checking in at half time. Thank you, Dave. Is it England playing tonight, or is it someone else? When you say half time, are you talking football? It must be, because Wales lost yesterday, didn't they? So yeah, if you want to keep us up to date with the scores, I won't object. Chris Campling, hi Penny and everyone. Chris Campling, still feel like poo, so not sure if I'm able to do tomorrow. That's your COVID jab thing, isn't it?
No, it wasn't well yesterday. He was like headed.
Yeah, I bless him. Well, look, keep us up to date, Chris, because because
one of us
tomorrow. Yeah, I don't mind helping out someone if they're not well.
Yeah, of course.
Dave Mack, hi Chris Campling, just get yourself well. Yeah, that's the most important.
Exactly. Yeah, because Chris is not here.
Yeah. Chris Campling, hi Dave Mack, thanks, will do. Dave Bassett, is Belgium 1, Portugal 0 at half time? Well, I'm happy with that score because I've got to be honest with you, I don't like Cristiano Ronaldo anymore. I just think he's become a bit of a prima donna, and I'm quite happy for him to lose. Is that really nasty for me to say that? And then Chris Campling did a test and it's negative, so not sure. No, don't know what it is.
I think it means all clear. What it means.
When this first started happening, and we got to springtime, and a lot of people were falling ill, going, "Oh no, I hope I haven't got COVID." And I will confess, I was one of them. And people were saying, "You do know because you know, just because COVID is here doesn't mean that all the other illnesses don't exist." No. And don't forget, a lot of people get hay fever in the spring, and I was one that went, "Oh yeah," and it's like, because there was a big deal being made of COVID. So just because we have COVID going around doesn't mean you still can't get the other illnesses. You might just have ordinary flu. You know, it's you could have ordinary any number one of things. So you know, it happens. So, but we're glad it's not COVID. That's the main thing.
I don't want to get that myself. Yeah.
I mean, personally, I'd rather have a major bout of not COVID than a small bout of COVID.
Yeah, not with this Delta one.
Yeah. David Bassett, not a classic so far, but a brilliant goal from Hazard, and I like Hazard. Just before half time. Right. So what are we doing on this stage issue 59 then? This looks exciting and something new.
Yes, it's Spitfire Mk 1a, issue 60. It says fitting a fuselage frame on the right hand side towards the tail end of the model.
Easy peasy.
So part one is basically right side fuselage frame.
Okay, so because we've done the cockpit, I think you're all expecting this, but this is metal, and this is very nice actually. And then part number 2
is 2x4mm PM screws.
So we have 3, but we know we're not going to get those muddled up with any other screws because there are no screws to get muddled up.
Yeah,
which is always a good one. So nice short build. Maybe we could get 10 of these done if they were all this length.
Yeah.
Because I think I know what's coming. Yeah, and they've split it down to 3 stages.
I was looking at there.
So with 5 pictures. Yeah. Do you know what? I'd say the quality of the paper is a bit rough, but it's actually thicker than before. So it's
could have been the way it's been printed.
It's nicer in one sense, but doesn't. I mean, I don't mind if it's yellow paper or white paper. I just rather have all the same. So, oh, it was his brother that scored, not Eden. Oh, of course it was. Yeah. See, this is how much I know about Premiership. This is how much I care about the Premiership. Yeah. It's a little part of me. I know we might not be playing League One next season for big football politic reasons. But a little part of me is actually glad we got relegated. I quite like League One and League Two.
Yeah.
So, right. So what is step 1 then? Sorry, this is the Spitfire show, not the Football League show.
No, that's all good. Like, I'm interested. Right, step 1 is place your model on your work surface. Take the fuselage frame 59.1. Check how it fits against the fuselage panel 47.1.
47.1.
Yeah, note that in order to fit the part and align the screw holes, you will have to tilt part 59.1, the fuselage, the flange, at the front of part 59.1 fits over the screw hole. In part 47.1, blue arrow left and above. The screw hole at the center of part 59.1 fits under the flange in part 47.1, red arrow left and above. See also step 2.
Right. No offense intended, Chris. But what I'm going to do, I can't make this picture any bigger. I'm just going to bring my image in.
I can make it big if you want.
No, the reason being, I just want to show you this picture there. Ignore where the instructions are. The picture that is roughly centered to the screen, that's showing you a better view of how it's going to go in. Just do that one image. That was all. I thought because I got it ready as you were calling it out. You see.
Okay, no worries.
And I've lost. Oh, because we need to bring that in, don't we? Right, there we go. So we've got this piece here, and what we're focusing on, see if I can get the orientation right. We're focusing on this bit, and it looks slightly complicated at the moment because we've got an awful lot of holes. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and we know we're only using 2. And forgive me, this fuselage or this Spitfire is round the wrong way compared to the magazine. But it's going to go on this side, and we see we've got 3 holes. So really, we're going to have to do a little bit of fiddling and tilting and moving to discover where these holes are. Yeah. So I suspect that these 2 holes, yes, I think it's going to be these 2 holes, but as we fiddle, we'll find out where I'm right and where I'm wrong. And is this going on? Yes. Right. Okay. I figured out these holes are right. What it is we want 1 over and 1 under. So this part, the front of the fuselage, is going over, and this part is coming from underneath. So it's easier to approach it like that. So you see, whoops. So where this little cutout bit is there, that's going to go through there like that, and then you tilt it. And that's, but aim, yeah, it's this hole there. So I thought it was going to be these 2 holes. It's actually these other 2. So it was 1 hole that I thought we weren't going to use, and then 1 hole I didn't even spot. So it's easier if you bring it in like this, but then line the back up. So we see the back bit there. We're lining that up, and then the front will just fall into place like that. Voila, just like that. And that is step 1 complete. So step 2.
Step 2 then is a simple one. It says, this shows part 59 fitted in place, viewed from the side. The screw holes that have been aligned are circled.
Right. So I'll go backwards and I'll take this off, because you'll probably find you do this naturally anyway. This wire was out, and maybe even this one. And you can see there that as I bring this fuselage in, the wire's going to get in the way. So what I've naturally done without even thinking is I've moved that wire out of the way. And that is pretty much what stage 2 is. It's making sure everything's out of the way. And then we're double checking. Screw hole there, screw hole there. That's basic. So you've done, if you do stage 1, you'll probably do stage 2 without even thinking about it. So that then takes us on to the 3rd and final stage.
Step 3 then. Use 2 times 4 mil PM screws to fix the fuselage frame 59-1 to the base panel 47-1. Then insert on the right shoulder parts fitted together.
Okay, so normally when I put screws in, I'll say it doesn't matter which screw you put in first. Both of these are going to be tricky to get to, but I'm actually going to do the back screw, because once you put the back screw in, this front bit is just resting on there anyway. So you're going to have to come through this hole, I think. That's going to be easier. Come through, and this screwdriver is not long enough. So what you're going to need is a screwdriver with a thin shaft. So this Harley Davidson screwdriver is going to be perfect. So that means I've just got to take that off. Don't let go of that at all, because that will fall off.
That's coming to the rear of the plane now, isn't it?
Pardon?
That's coming to the back of the plane now.
Yes. Well, it's about the middle, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you can now see that just like the Bismarck, you're going to be adding little sections to it, and it's gradually going to get longer. And it isn't my best screwdriver for being magnetic.
What about the Oreo one?
No, well, that's the same shape as the screwdriver that I was using.
I was wondering the bendy bit. You could bend, yeah.
Yeah, it needs to be thin, because once I've got this in, I'll be able to show you. Right, that screw, yeah, that's another one of those screws where it doesn't feel like it's going in, and all of a sudden it stops. So let me show you. There's the screw hole there. But if you look at, because this piece there, because this piece is curved, can you see the screw hole there?
Yeah.
So you're actually having to come through the side to get to it. So a nice thin shaft will enable you to get that in. Because this is fairly short, and it's got this fat bit in the middle, you can't get it in there, look. So
fair enough.
To be honest with you, one of the best, when I need a thin shaft, this will surprise you. the best screwdriver I found for the job is a really cheap set from Wilco.
Yeah.
You know, you've got all these screwdrivers that they cost. I mean, I've seen screwdrivers costing 50 quid for a screwdriver. And one of the best ones I've seen, you know, actually used is a cheap Wilco one, which surprises me. But it goes like that, doesn't it? So I'm just making sure these are as tight as they can be. Because I've not got this on a work surface, I'm having to really support the bottom.
Yeah.
But it's going in nice. And I could actually use a smaller screwdriver. That would be better. There we go. And this is the Wilco one I'm talking about.
Yeah.
These are like, oh, that's a flathead screwdriver, so that's no good. And another good screwdriver is this one here. And every time I use it, I thank Adrian for it. Adrian sent me this. I think it's this one. If this isn't the one, it's set similar. It's the R2D2 screwdriver that came free with the R2 because it's quite long.
Yeah, you had one probably with the Millennium Falcon as well, didn't you?
I got one with the Millennium Falcon, but it was a little bit shorter.
Oh, okay.
Right, there we go. That's really stiff. That's not moving. In fact, let me pull this out. It's in so tight. I could pull. I'm not going to lift it right off the ground, but I could probably lift the Spitfire just with that part, which that actually feels. I actually lifted this up today, pre-show.
Yeah.
And where it's getting quite heavy, I don't like the idea of lifting it up by the wings anymore. That I'd pick it up from there, but not with the wings. Right, so that is stage issue 59 done. Would you like to do issue 60? And then we'll round the show off.
Yeah, that's
and
cool,
then we'll look at times to do issue 61 onwards. Now, this is very similar with a little bit more to do than the last issue. So I've got to sort of proper desk out because it's just a little bit too low, this desk, and it's just I'm not bending properly, and it's just hurting my back a little bit.
Yeah, if you're in an awkward position, it will.
Yeah, I think 2-hour shows are about perfect, unless I'm doing like a long sit-down show. If I'm sitting down and looking at the camera, then that's fine. But
so I want to see an update or something,
yeah. Right, so what do we got for stage for issue 60 then?
So issue 60 then, it says build the Spitfire. It says fit the left fuselage frame to the model together with the antenna and dorsal light. I think I've said that right, I don't know.
Dorsal light. I think the dorsal light is I'm not going to make a guess, but I think it's on the top, because I think on a fish the dorsal fin is on top. Have I got that right? I said I wasn't going to guess, and then I made a guess, but I just had a quick flick, and we'll know at step 6. I can see that the LED is going on the top, so I think it's. I know of the expression dorsal fin.
Dorsal. I never heard that word before.
I think dorsal is on the top.
Yeah. So ready for part check?
Yep.
So what part 1 is left side fuselage frame?
So this is the same as the last issue, but the holes are cut differently. So on this one we had 6 sections. This one we've just got the 1, which I'm all right with that, because it means we've got the gap that we need for the screwdriver to get in. Because we're going to see that one coming, aren't we?
So part 2 is antenna.
Right, I'm going to be honest with you here, guys. You know I normally love everything and I can make good things about it, but I don't like that colour. I really don't like that colour. It is metal, but it looks plasticky. So, but as you know, I am modifying mine a little bit, so I'm going to do a bit more research on that antenna, and I may find myself repainting it. I don't talk negative about models. I'm usually the kind of person that if I don't like something, I'll either try to be positive, or I'll just skip it altogether. But I'm going to be honest with you guys, that is not the best piece I've ever seen.
No.
And that's being as polite as I can. But, you know, you guys might go, well, actually, it's ultra realistic. And if that is absolutely ultra realistic, I'll stick with it, because we have things out there that are terrible about something. And that's just, but authentic is more important than looking good.
Yeah.
So, right. So, piece 3.
Which is an LED housing frame A and B.
Right, so this is the LED housing. So obviously that means the LED is going to go into that. Sorry, that's the best description I can give you, which brings us on to piece number 4, which is
LED and cable.
LED and cable. And this is a round LED.
Yeah.
Let me just...
5 is obvious.
That's quite a short cable.
Yeah.
But in all fairness, you see this cable there that's quite long because it goes further back. This is going to be, the connection points are going to be roughly the same place anyway. So that's fine. So the next part is my favorite part out of all of
cable label.
As you know, the cable label. That says L6. So we know there's going to be at least 9 lights on this because we've got L9. We've got L3, we've got 10 lights because we've got an L10, but I wonder if we'll have an El Paso. Right, okay, and part 6
is magnet.
Oh, I thought there was no part 6 for a minute. Right, so that's part 6. So you say it's a magnet. That is most definitely a magnet. So that is going to be for something to be removable in the same way that the sides of the engines are removable, so that you can put it on and you can then take it off and see the right. So that's exciting. I wonder what that's going to be for.
Yeah.
Okay.
Messed up on instructions here because it says 62, which is the last one, which is supposed to be 7. 5 p.m. 2 times 4 mil screws.
Yeah, be careful with this because my screwdriver just rolled, and of course it just picked it up, and then there's my magnet there stuck on the side. So if you lose that magnet, guys, it's probably stuck to your screwdriver.
Yeah, and just be careful with the instructions because they've got it written wrong as well. On this. Okay. It says part 2 because it says 62 for the last one, which is supposed to be 7. Yeah, they got it wrong on the pass check. Just qualify that as well.
Oh, I see. Yeah. No, I get exactly what you're saying. Yeah. So what they've done is on the actual pictures, it is correct. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah. But I think they had the apprentices in the day they wrote this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2.
Yeah, exactly. So be careful.
It is written. Let me just check. So just make sure it's written correctly in the instructions. Now, they don't actually write the part number for screws, do they? No. They always write it as PM or P whatever. But yeah, it is. It doesn't affect the instructions, but yeah, it doesn't take a brain cell to figure out that one's wrong. If you're smart enough to read the instructions, you're smart enough to notice that that's wrong. Okay, so what is step 1 then?
Yeah. Step 1, take the magnet 6606 and check how it fits in the slot in the previously fitted fuselage frame 591. This is a loose fit.
Right, so it looks like it's going, this is slightly confusing because it looks like it's going to go there, but there's a little round hole there and it's going to go underneath, and it doesn't say anything about an orientation, whether it goes that way or that way. No, it's only going to go one way. So I don't know if you can notice, this magnet is not quite square. And if you put it in this way, it's not going to fit. If you put it that way, it will go in a little bit loose, but it doesn't state whether it goes that way or that way. I don't know if it's going to make a difference, but on a previous issue, the North and the South poles were very important. Now that is such a loose fit that that's going to fall out of there. So I'm going to leave it out, but we know that it should go in there. Let me just look. So this bit there where there's a circular bit, and I know it's the right bit because there's a screw there. And look at your bit. You can see there's a little slot in there. So that's where the magnet's going to go, but I'm not going to put it in just right because it's so loose, it could actually fall out itself. However, saying that, look at stage 2.
Stage 2 then, yeah. When you're happy with the fit, glue the magnet 6006 in place as shown.
Right, I'm going to be honest with you. I am not happy with the fit because putting it in one way, it doesn't fit, and putting it in one way, it's a very loose fit. So what I'm going to do is this frame, we know where it's going to go and we know how it's going to go in. Yeah. So I'm going to just dry fit it. I'm going a little bit rogue here. But I want to put this fuselage piece on as it will be once we've finished it. And then I want to just see how that magnet's going to go. And actually now I am happy with the fit because that's going to go in there like that. And it's going to... Oh. Right. It's keeping these wires out of the way. So, yeah, I can now see, yes. So, when it's all finished, that's how the magnet's going to look. Can you see that magnet in there?
Yeah.
So, I am now happy with that fit, but I didn't know how it was going to fit together. So, that's why I checked the fuselage. And like I say, that's a little bit... But then I don't regret doing that because I've double checked. But what I'm going to do, I know that once that fuselage is in there, that's going to be wedged in there. So all I'm going to do is just put a tiny bit of glue on one end of the magnet.
Yeah.
But this has glued. You know, when you get a little bit of glue squeeze and it just dries on the end and it stops everything from coming out.
Mm-hmm.
So... And I'm back still on my whole not so good glue. Right, and the reason I'm only gluing one tiny end is because if I glue it down, that's stuck. When I come to put the fuselage in, if that's a little bit too low or a little bit too high, and I can't close the fuselage in, there'll be a little bit of movement on there. Just a tiny weeny bit. But that glue really just seems to be to hold it there until we put the other half on. So I think that'll be fine. So what is step 3, please?
Yeah. Basically, put the cable label on the LED cable.
Right, so we're going to take the cable label 64 and the cable, cable 6004, cable label 6005, remove the label from its backing, wrap it around the cable, close to the connector as shown. So,
simplify,
yeah, they do overcomplicate these, don't they? So, my personal preference, as I say over and over, is I just put the label down about a finger width away from the connector, just so it just helps protect it when you're plugging it in. If you did it lower or higher, it could get caught, but that usually works for me. It might not work, but that's where I normally pop it. So while you read out step 4 and 5,
yeah,
I'm going to be just preparing these pieces.
Yeah, okay, cool. So step 4, cut parts A and B from frame 6003, fit the LED on the end of the cable 6004 in part B. The rim of the LED fits into the deeper recess of part B, red arrow, and the tubular part of the LED fits into a curved recess, blue arrow. So step 5. Take part A from the frame 63 and check how it fits over the LED. 2 pegs on part A fit into sockets in part B, blue arrow, and the LED fits into a curved recess in part A, red arrow. Apply a little super glue to the pegs and fix in place.
Right, so basically step 5 was, it's their way of saying dry fit and then glue. Right, so what we're going to do is we're going to take the LED. Now, these 2 pieces look absolutely identical to me, except that one has got 2 little holes, which is this one, and this one's got 2 little pegs. So this is what's known as a male fitting, and this one is what's known as a female fitting. If you don't know the difference between male and female, the male goes into the female connecting. Now, I know exactly what you guys are thinking, but it is a very common term with things like electrical things and basically anywhere where you have a connector.
Is that the UK plugs?
Yeah. So, and that's how it's going to go in like that. So, holding it with this connector, see that line there at the back? That needs to be backwards, and the LED is going to come in and over like right. So the flange on the LED is going to go in that little gap there, and then this part here has got a small cutout for the wires, and once it's in, you'll see that there's no movement. Obviously you can lift it up, but if you imagine that's clamped down, there's no movement there. So what we'll then do is we will, although I've test fitted this piece, I'm going to just test fit it again, and that's going to do 2 things. One is it going to make sure it fits, and secondly it's going to tell us how easy it's going to be to fit it, because when you're fiddling with 3 pieces it's going to be tricky. Right, so this is quite a loose fitting, so I'm going to have to be very careful, and I think the only way I'm going to fit this with the size of my fingers and the size of these parts is this LED is going to fall out as soon as we let go of it. So I think what we're going to have to do is hold this piece, and I actually want to do it the other way around. I like to apply the glue to the male pegs, because I can put glue around it. You may want to do it differently, but let's do another test fit. You can never test fit too many times, guys.
No.
So
measure.
Yeah, I'm going to put a little bit of glue. You kind of figure out where the contact points are going to be. One thought that crossed my mind is it's tempting to think, shall we glue the LED in place? And I think that's going to be an absolutely terrible idea.
Yeah.
Right, so I need to hold that on. This is where, see where it's fiddly. You need, if you've got like, what do you call it? Helping hands, that will serve you very well.
Yeah.
But
that would be perfect, that would.
Yeah, this is a bit fiddly because of the size of the part. So I'm going to stick one side on, and I'm going to wiggle that LED around until it's in. There we go. That is really tricky, guys. I will be honest with you there. I found that quite tricky, but that is in. And then what you're going to have to do is hold that down, whether you tape it down or hold it. But I think with my glue, it's quite a fast setting glue. This one isn't quite as fast setting as my Gorilla Glue.
And the gel glue, because that's a Gorilla one, isn't it?
Gorilla Glue is just absolutely amazing, I think, but that would be stuck absolutely solid. I remember doing something on a stream a couple of years ago where I glued one half of a model together, and I actually got it slightly wrong angle.
Oof.
And I went to pull it off, and it's to this day it's still stuck. So I've had to live with it. In fact, I'll actually show you. Thankfully, I managed to work around it, and you'll never notice it. But this is what I actually stuck together, and just there, that's where the body goes. And that piece, I don't know if you can see there, I stuck it a little bit too far forward. There, it's level, and that was the result of about half a second sticking. And yeah, but that's, to this day, I bet you if that ever breaks, around the waist is where it won't break. Right, so step 6.
Yeah. Step 6. Identify the fixing point for the LED housing A and B, in bracket, on the fuselage frame 59.1. Next to the magnet 6006, tabs on the sides of the LED housing slide into slots in the recesses on part 59.1. Yellow arrows. When you are happy with the fit, glue the tabs in place.
Right, I've got to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Either I'm colourblind or they missed it out, but I can't see the yellow arrows.
Actually, hang on, let me just...
Tabs on the side of the LED housing slide into the recesses on parts 59.1.
No, you've missed it.
Yellow arrows. I can see the red arrows, unless that's what they mean. And if that's the case, this is actually a terrible issue for a mistake. We often get one mistake, but I don't often see two. I'm hoping they mean red arrows, but right, so
Hang on, that's it. Yeah, just...
so this is obviously it's shaped, so I guess it's only going to go in one way. So just in, oh god, sorry guys. So just in front of the magnet there's a section there. It's a little round section. I'll bring the camera up. See, it's round and sort of a teardrop shape. So this is only going to go in one way, and that's one way, and that's the other. Yeah, that's not going to go in the wrong way. So do a little test fit, and I'll be honest with you guys, does that actually need gluing? That's a nice fit, and then when we bring the other side of the fuselage in, that's going to clamp that in. Yeah. So I'm not going to glue that in. If it turns out that it now needs gluing in, then I'll just undo and I'll glue. But I don't think that's going to need gluing in, to be honest with you. So anyway, what is the next step then?
Step 7.
Step 7.
Yeah.
And then I'll do a catch-up on the chat.
Fill the rim of the base of the antenna 62 in the recesses in the fuselage frame 59.1. As indicated, glue in place the insert show part 6002 in position.
Lovely. Right, so I don't know where we finished the chat, but I'll just...
No, I'll tell you where we are now. Hang on.
But Dave Mack said last week I was feeling really rough. It was my diabetes playing up. If I didn't know if it was my blood sugar was up or not. Dave Bass said that was his little brother who scored, not Eden. Yeah, that's when I said I got that wrong. Yeah. Mike Headstone. Okay, just religion to talk about now because we've mentioned politics and football. So,
yeah.
Harvey De Niro said, just passing to say hi, Penny. Hello, Harvey. And I'll say it again. I love Harvey because if it weren't for Harvey, we wouldn't be streaming on StreamYard.
Yeah.
So, right. So, the antenna. So, just in case there isn't a shaped fit, what I've noticed is that there's, let's call that a little arrow, and that arrow is going to point towards the LED and the magnet, so we know it's got to go that way. it's probably going to be a precise fit. And that's going to slide in there. And let's try and put it in backwards. Yeah, not a chance of going in backwards. And that is a beautiful fit. Look. And it's I found it actually easier to come in at about a 90-degree angle. And then see there's a little sticky out ledge on it. Slide that into there and then just follow it through. And because there's a flat edge on it, it will stop when it's in the right place. So there you go.
Yeah, that's good.
Easy as that. So that takes us to step 8. And I think this is going to be harder than it looks.
Yeah. So step 8. Take the left side of fuselage frame 6001 and check the fit against the right fuselage frame 59.1 and the bottom panel 47.1 as with the right hand side fuselage panel 59.1. You will have to tip panel 6001 to fit the flange on the lower edge so that the screw holes align. See also step 9.
Right, so shall we read out step 9 because it says also step 9?
Yeah. Step 9. When the fuselage frame 6001 is correctly positioned, the LED housing A and B, the rim of the base of the antenna 6002 and the magnet 6006 fitted in step 1 fit into corresponding recesses in part 6001. Screw holes on part 6001 and 4701 are aligned red circles.
Right. Okay, so the first thing that I can see, they haven't mentioned it, all this wiring is going to get in the way. So what I'm going to do, the 2 motor wires,
yeah,
you know, when we've done this, we're going to have a channel through the middle. So I'm going to pull the, whoops, so that's the antenna fallen off. See now this, that has, right, so I'm just going to take that off for a minute. Obviously, if you've glued it in, it's going to stay there. So the 3 wires that were there before we started today, what I want to do, I haven't got an elastic band. That'd probably be best. So I'm just going to get a piece of masking tape.
Yeah.
I'm just going to mask that, pop it round, if I can. And I'm just going to tape it to the front of the Spitfire, just so that it keeps it out of the way. You see, oh no, that didn't work, did it? Right. So I just want to pull those wires out of the way, just to give me something easier to work with. Then we find our LED. In fact, I'm going to try and tuck that wire to the front. There you go, look. And then I'm going to pop the antenna on. Remember that the little flag bit is going to point backwards. So that's just going, that might spring back and get in the way. So now we want the piece of fuselage. So we're going to fit it the same way as we did before. We're going to bring it in at an angle. We're going to focus on the back fixing point. Yeah, and that front. So this is where this is basically what it's saying, is that we need to sort of bring all of this together in 3 different places.
Yeah.
So it might actually be advisable to glue this in. I'm now admitting that. No, that's gone in fine. So holding that in place, actually it's easy if you hold it on the other side. So the magnet's glued in. This LED is held onto the new piece of fuselage. Then I'm going to bring the antenna on the old piece of fuselage. Then I'm going to try and bring it together. There we go. I done it. Yay!
Okay.
There we go. So, but I've got that wire trapped. There we go. So I've now checked my screw points, and do you know what? I'm going to do, this is probably overkill. I'm going to get a little piece of masking tape, and if I knew I was going to do this, I would have had the tape ready. I'm just going to pop a bit of tape on the top, just to keep that together.
Yeah.
There we go. Look at that. So it's really just a case of you've got to keep an eye on where the screw hole housings is. The magnet's got to fit into what you're doing is you're bringing where are we? I've lost the camera. You're bringing two pieces together, but you're also bringing a piece in between. So it's more like you're doing this.
Yeah.
If you just bring two pieces together, you could probably get away with bringing them in like that or bringing them in like that. But because this has got a sticky out bit, you've got to bring them in that way. So that's the only thing. That's a little bit fiddly.
Yeah.
But it's fine. It's absolutely fine. It's just a little bit fiddly, as I say. Right, so what is step 10?
Yeah, 10. Fix the lower edge of the fuselage frame 6001 to the bottom panel 4701 using 2.4mm PM screws.
Right, so I'm going to use the screwdriver I used earlier, which I went and put away, didn't I? Right, so again, I'm going to use this little screwdriver with a thin shaft, and I'm going to turns out this screwdriver is not magnetized. Let's see if I got another thin screwdriver. Don't tell me the original Rootmaster screwdriver is going to be the best. Look at that. I think this is the original Rootmaster screwdriver. Or remember all those years ago?
Yeah, I don't know if you have to...
Magnetized screwdrivers are not essential, but I just think they make the job so much easier.
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
that's in really well. So that it's basically the screw holes are right opposite the screws on the other side of the fuselage. So they're so easy to find because you did all your searching in the previous issue. Right, and then this one goes in, and this is slightly trickier, but there we go. And that is in really, really tight. I bet you I can't get those out now. I'm not going to try. So now, before we go on to step 11, which is the last stage of the issue and the last stage tonight, I meant to tell you why I specifically put that masking tape where I did. I did spot some screw holes. One there, one there, one there, one there. Now, I don't know at this point which screws we're going to use, but it's a bit silly to cover up screw holes with masking tape. This section here, there were no screw holes, so that's why I put the tape where it was. But now I can see that I really did put it in the right place, because you'll find out when Chris is just about to read it. Stage 11.
Yeah. Stage 11. At the top of the fuselage panel, fit part 6001 to part 5901 using two 2x4mm screws as indicated.
Right, so we fitted the fuselage pieces to the bottom fuselage. Now we're going to fit them together, which is going to give us a 3-point contact. And I love threes. 3 is my lucky number. So I'm much happy with a 3-point contact. And I'm just going to turn this more for my benefit. And you've got a screw hole just in front of the antenna there, which is right at the very top of the screen. And then you've got the corresponding screw hole is right on the end. Not this screw here, because this is a little tab on the right side of the fuselage, which is obviously going to be for a future piece, but it's this second one in. So I think I'm going to do I can't pick these screws up. I think I'm going to do the end first. It really doesn't matter which way round you go.
Yeah.
And I'm only going to, oh, that's a nice, plenty of resistance there. Right, that's only in enough to bite. And that's all I'm going to go. Because if this bit isn't lined up properly, that's going to make it even worse.
Yeah.
So, right, squeeze this together. Pop this one in just enough to bite. and I can see how that's going to go. Now this one is going in really easily. So now I'm starting to think that first screw that I put in perhaps wasn't screwed in properly, or by doing this one, yeah, okay. That's that's a little bit easier. So I think what's happened is that's pulled them together. This has pulled them straighter, and that's, although that's still a tricky one to put in, it's a little bit easier than it was. And I do apologize, guys. I'm trying to work around. No, that's giving me a lot of trouble, or as I would say where I come from, a lot of jiff. So what I'm going to do, sorry guys, I'm going to do the old backwards and forwards trick. I'm going to loosen it. I'm going to push the two bits of fuse. Yes, it wasn't quite straight. Yeah, that's a lot. No, still tricky. Did anyone else have this trouble with this particular screw? This one has gone in easily. This one is quite stiff. It's like,
could be paint block.
It's like they haven't cut the thread. They haven't tapped the screw hole properly. That's how it feels. It's gone in, and we often have this trouble with metal screws anyway. But where they haven't quite tapped them properly, we just go backwards and forwards. So
I'll use the model.
But it's oh, sorry guys. So that antenna is in, but it's a little bit loose.
Yeah.
That one's okay, and that's in, and I am actually picking the entire Spitfire up by that one piece. Now, the magazine is showing that the wires are coming back. So these wires that I've masking taped,
yeah,
I need to take the masking tape off, and I need to thread them back through where they were. But I do believe that by taping them back, I ran the risk of nipping the wires. You know, it's just a lot to look at. So that goes in through there. That's going to need tidying up. That's actually okay. And then this one can come in through there.
Yeah.
And I think that's how those wires are going to go. But if they're not, we'll just pull them back out again at a later stage. So there you go, guys. Wow. So Harvey says, bless you, Penny. Harvey, look, doesn't matter what I think of anybody. If they've done me a good turn, I will always remember that forever and a day. Even if we fell out, you'll still be the guy that helped me stream on StreamYard. So we haven't fallen out, but... And then Dave Mack said, no, I didn't have a problem with that screw. So, yeah, that's worn me out, guys. That really has. I'm sure it's the position of my desk.
And then it's the finished view then?
So, yeah, there's the finished view. And there's my finished view.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So I'm really, really happy with that. In fact, I'll do a quick overhead camera view.
Do you see what's coming next week, or?
No. Wait, slow down, Chris.
I'll leave it there then.
So let me just nick the full screen. So that's my overhead view of the Spitfire. So what did you think, guys? Is that brilliant or is that awesome?
Well, that's good. Fair dues. You've done really well tonight. And that's kind of,
yeah. I just put the wrong on. I'm trying to put my horrible face on. There we go. There's my horrible face. So yeah, wow. So I on the one hand, I think, oh, that's progressed quite quickly. But actually, we've just done in 4 days, in 3 shows over 4 days, we've done 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 issues. But it just goes to show how quickly this can grow if you're not keeping an eye on it. Yeah. We had this when it first started. It just really wasn't growing that much. I think most models actually, Route Master, Ecto 1, you're dealing with a very small bit, and then all of a sudden it just goes, and it's grown sideways. Yeah, it's grown sideways, now it's growing back, and I have had a little peek. This is what I've got left. I think we're due another batch of Spitfires this week or next week, but I've got 6 more issues here, and I've had a quick sneak peek, and we've got another panel there in 64, so that's going to grow a little bit more, and then we've got 2 more fuselage panels, so within the next 6 issues it's going to grow another 2 or 3 inches, so pretty soon it's going to be really big. So yeah, I'm really happy with that. So yeah, great show. Thank you guys. Dave Mack says you've done really well tonight. Well done, Penny. Well done. Thank you very much. I do appreciate it. So your thoughts on it?
Awesome, Penny.
Awesome. Are you? No, you said last time. I said, "Oh, are we tempting you to do it?" And you said no. Are you still not tempted to do it, or is there any regrets for not doing it, Chris?
I would do it, but I've probably will struggle with the engine parts and the cockpit which we got glue in the little details.
That's all right. My aim was to get you to say, "Oh yes, I would really have loved doing that." Yeah. So I have achieved that. So it's always nice. It's always nice when you get someone. A really good example was World of Wayne with the bus. He obviously wasn't tempted by the bus when it came out, but as he watched various people's build videos, he did. I have caught him on a live stream saying, "Do you know what? I regret not doing it." And but then he can do it now because it's coming out with the Gore models. Yeah. So, but that's always nice when you see someone who goes, "No, I'm not interested in that," and that's fine if someone doesn't have an interest in a model. That's absolutely fine. But to then hear them say, "Oh, I wish I'd done that," that's really, I think, is the ultimate testimony that a model is good. Yeah. You know, they want to do it just for the model making. You know, that's all good.
There's an aircraft I would love to do though as a model would be the passenger plane, which is a 747.
747, yeah. Well, you can't get a lot more iconic than that.
No, that's really good. I'd like a look at it.
Yeah, that's because the thing is also that's so customizable because the 747 has been used in so many different things. I mean, you'd probably get someone that would want to convert it to Air Force One. Yeah. You might get someone want to do a military version of it.
Or an EasyJet.
Yeah, so you might get someone want to cut it down a bit and do the stubby version. You might want someone might want to put do the version that lifted the space. There's one with a space shuttle on the back, wasn't there? Yeah. So that's one of those ones where, like the bus, where people have customized their buses. Wasn't there someone who did turn their bus into a breakdown truck?
Could have been.
So yeah, I need to explain this comment because it makes me sound really awful. Mike Tedstone says, "See you later for you to slap me about again." We play Red Dead Redemption, and we're trying. We have a main core group of 6, and 2 are very good, 2 are intermediate, and 2 are beginners. And we're always trying to find activities that will interest everybody and is useful to everyone. And last night we did a thing called posse infighting. First of all, we did team infighting, so you get 3 members on one side and 3 on the other, and they got to shoot each other. But we decided to do another posse infight, but we made a little house rule of no weapons, so you could only punch people. And Mike got punched about a little bit, but I say you learn more from losing at something. I did a showdown thing today. The daily challenge was to take part in it, not come first or anything. So I thought, okay, fine, I can take part, I can come last, and I've achieved my daily achievement. And it was about a 10-minute event, and you know, while you're there, you can keep trying your best. And I was actually on party chat with one of my friends, and I'm like, "Oh, I just killed someone!" Oh, I was really pleased with myself. And you know, I was a little bit better than last time I did one of those events. And each time you do the events, you know, I'm not interested in going around and killing other players. I just want to just go around and do my own thing. So I'm not very experienced with these player versus player events, but each one I do, I get a bit better, and that's the same with Mike. We thought we'll find out tonight when we slap him about again. There was also a funny one where if you have it on defensive mode, you can't hurt each other. And one of our posse members came on, but before he'd actually joined the posse, he was just trying to lasso us. But of course, he couldn't lasso us because we were on defensive mode. Yeah. And there was 5 of us, and he's trying to lasso me. So I just went, right. So we changed it to offensive mode, and then we just all lassoed him. And it was just really funny. So Dave Matt, great show too. Thank you very much. Yeah, because last night when we were doing the fist fight, wasn't there a stick of dynamite went off there, Chris, somewhere? I'm pretty sure dynamite aren't fists, but no, mistakes happen. Right, okay, so I'm going to just quickly call out the schedule for this week. I'm just going to read it off my screen. Now, disclaimer, as I always do, I read off a particular spreadsheet, the one that I've been using for months and months and months, as far as I'm original. If a show is not listed on it, I won't be calling it out. If a show is listed incorrectly, I will call it out because I'm going to read it exactly as the spreadsheet says. So I cannot be made responsible for any mistakes or omissions or accidental additions. Before we do that, David Bassett says, finish 1-0 to Belgium. So when do England lose on penalties then to Germany? Right, so tomorrow we have on Chris Campling's channel, possibly to be confirmed, 113114, and that will also go out on Chris Davis's channel. Now, because it's Chris Campling's build, I take it whatever you do, it's going to go out on both channels. But if Chris Campling is too ill to do the Terminator, do you have anything lined up as a backup? Would you perhaps be doing your Jaguar issue 70 and 71, and then next week Chris Campling does his Terminator, or how would you work it out if he can't build?
I don't know, I might bring forward the Ecto actually for this week instead if he doesn't do it.
Right. Because obviously, if it was your turn to build and Chris Campling can't make it, we'll just replace the co-host. But Chris Campling is not just talking; he's actually doing the building. If he's too ill, there's not going to be a build. So I will read it out as Terminator issue 113 to 114. I will also say my prayers tonight. So there you go. There's the religion, Mike. But I will pray for Chris Campling that he's well enough tomorrow. But that's a nice thing to do anyway, I think, whether you're religious or not. Tuesday, we have Build with Adrian, and he's doing the Build a Ferrari F40, issue 43, the sound system. Now, he's doing that at 7 o'clock, whereas the Chris's are doing theirs at 8 o'clock on Monday.
Usually.
Add that in. Well, what's usual time now? We've got times all over the place.
8 o'clock used to be, didn't it? Yeah.
Well, some do at 8, some do at 7, some I've seen 6 o'clocks, and obviously I've got shows at 2 o'clock. Yeah. Which brings us to Wednesday. I'll be doing my Paint with Diamond show issue show number 44. I'm looking forward to 52 because that'll be a first-year anniversary. Well, it won't be a first-year anniversary. It'll be a year and a bit, but it'll be the 52nd issue. That's at 2 o'clock, and I have I said it before, and I do apologize for keep repeating. I have an extremely important announcement, something really exciting for the channel, and I really don't think you want to miss it. Now, Wednesday evening, we have Build with Adrian. He'll be doing Part Work Show Spitfire issue 66, which is this one. Which is the last issue of the current pack, which is why I think they're coming this week or next week. I think they'll come next week. But he'll also be doing issue 116 of the Terminator. That is at 8 o'clock. Thursday, we have Horlicks doing Terminator issue 113. That's at 7 o'clock. And on Friday, he'll be doing Spitfire 64, which is this issue. So he's got that little growth bit. So that's 8 o'clock. Saturday, based on what happens tomorrow, we have Chris Davis doing the Jaguar issues. Oh, no, it will be Jaguar issue 7071. And that will also go out on Sampling's channel. That's 8 o'clock. And then Monday, no, that's it. That's 1 week. Sorry, that's 1 week.
Yeah.
So we have nothing on Sunday, but I might think of something to do next Sunday. I might not. I've got a little bit of a channel update for you. I've been planning this for months and months and months since before Christmas. I'm trying to. I could bring this in at any time, but what I want to do is I want to bring it in when I know I can keep it regular. But I've got 3 projects on the go that I'm ready to start. 3. One is modeling, taking it all the way back to the beginning. Most of you will probably find show number 1 quite boring because it is the absolute beginning, which is what you do even before you've got a model. And then we will try to learn something new every week, brushwork, paintwork, gluing, filing, weathering, and we'll just keep it like a little basic skills guide. One project I have mentioned, which is if you haven't got the money for a part work, how could you do an alternative part work? So what I've done is I've got a 1:24 scale Spitfire made by Airfix, and I'm going to assemble it, and we're going to look at tighten it up a little bit. So I've got some fiber optic lights. I found some motors for it. So we'll try to build the Airfix one with a little bit more. We'll try and base it on the Harshette one as much as we can. Don't forget, I've got my Tamiya 1:48 scale, which is actually, I've gone out and got all the markings so that we can make it a replica of the replica, which is a replica of the original. So yeah, so we'll have the real one. Well, I won't have the real one, but we'll have the real Spitfire. We'll have the 1:12, 1:18 scale, 1:48 scale. So we'll have and then there's another project on the subject of scale modeling, which I'm not quite ready to reveal, but there's so a lot of exciting stuff, but I don't actually want to start it until I could start it Sunday, for example, but would I then be able to continue the content the next Sunday and the next Sunday and the next Sunday? So once I'm going to be in a position to make a regular commitment to it, then it will be all systems go. Hopefully good things to come on my channel. There's been a few setbacks the last couple of months, especially the last 2 months, but on that note, I'd like to thank Mike Tedstone and his lovely wife, because if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be back online now. I went through a stage where I was in a terrible dark place. I think they refer to it as the dark dog or something, but basically it was in a really bad place, and I felt like a lot of people had deserted me, and I just had a couple of people that were there for me, and that was all it took. An expression I use is I felt I was fighting ghosts in the dark. If you know what you're fighting against, you can fight it, but if you're fighting something invisible, you don't know how to deal with it, and that's where I was being. And I'm sorry to sort of bring a dark ending to the show, but I know we all. What was it someone said to me? Oh, we all have our problems, Penny. That was one of my really good friends. That was their answer. And I also like the idea. I like the thought that every time I spoke to someone, that's considered an attack. But when they spoke to me, that wasn't an attack, and it's actually my fault. And that's the position I've been in. And it was, I very, very nearly gave up everything. So, but yeah, these few Spitfire catch-ups have really done a lot for me. Doing, I mean, 2 weeks ago I came back doing diamond painting, and I was so scared to do it. I'd been in a position where I'd intended to do the show, and it's like you get to the Thursday and you're like, yeah, I'll do that. I'm going to do the show. And then as it gets closer, it gets harder and harder. And then even the Wednesday morning, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do the show. And then it gets to like within an hour of the show, and I'm just like, I can't deal with this. And you end up not doing the show. And then the cycle begins every week.
You take a backward step in, yeah.
Yeah, and I ended up getting with a lot of support off in particular 2 friends, but I'd say 4 or 5 friends that I had. And again, that was a good thing. I thought I had nobody. And, you know, I'm talking to people on a daily basis, and you don't kind of realize you've got them. And it's all of a sudden you start to realize, well, hang on, I'm talking to you about my problems. Well, that means you're there for me, aren't you? Yes, I've got someone on my side. And it's, your normal brain can, you know, it's like, you know what's happening going on, but then you get another part of you is like, it's just working against what is, you know, it's like, for example, Chris, you've been there the last couple of months, but I've never seen that you've been there. You know, although I'm talking to you and I know you're my friend and you're sticking with me, and I'm and I'm even saying to your face, I've got no one's listening to me. And yet your brain is going, well, Chris is listening to me right now. But your main dark side is gone. There's no one who listen. And it's really...
You get that more down.
Yeah. And it wasn't until we got to the point where, you know, I had 2 people really supporting me, and I actually did my diamond painting show expecting to completely screw it all up. And I just thought, right, I've got to do it, and if I cock it all up, that's fine. At least I've given it a go. Better to have tried and failed. And actually, after I got through the first 10-15 minutes, the old penny started to come back. So it's funny, the people who tell you, yeah, we'll always be there for you, they weren't there. But the people who you never necessarily thought would be there, they're the ones pushing you. Anyway, that's all in the past. New Penny's here now, and hopefully it'll come back stronger than ever.
Did you go back to your old sales pen as well? Why you? Yeah.
It's funny when you hear things about you, because no one ever say anything to your face, but then you hear things hearsay. And to be honest with you, I think the thing that hurts the most is when you spend an awful lot of time helping someone, not just time, but money. And like, you know, you go for a long drive and you meet someone and you give up stuff and you lose money on the stuff that you give them, but you don't mind doing it because they, you know, that's what you do. You help everybody out. And then it just turns out you get kicked in the back and lied about. And it's like, why did I bother helping anyone? And there's a guy I made friends with recently. Been in a new place, Glasgow. I don't have that many friends local because I've only been here a few months. And I've got friends with this guy, and he's a lovely guy and he's a genuine guy. And I was sort of chatting to him. Luckily, he's the kind of person I can talk about anything with. And he's saying to me, well, Penny, you can rely on me. He goes, I don't let people down. And I said, look, there's a part of my brain going, I believe you. But then there's another part saying, so many people say that to me and they've all let me down. Why are you any different? And he's gone, yeah, but I'm going, no. Right. My brain is going, yeah, but especially the people who have to say to you, I won't let you down. Why are they having to tell you that? Isn't that one of those things that just goes without saying? And this is how your brain works, isn't it? And it's yeah. But no, he seems like a good guy, and you know, but unfortunately I've got to the point in my life now where the defences won't come up, you know, so the defences stay down. And I'm always ready for something. Anyway, we go completely off topic there, and it's 10 on a Sunday evening. Thank you so much for watching. I don't know when I will be on again for this type of show. We'll have a little look. I'll probably arrange something a few days in advance, but I am keen on getting this caught up. But I'm not keen on getting it all caught up in one go, because I think with this, it's a case of too much of a good thing is a bad thing.
Too much, That's true.
I think doing 2, maybe 3 issues a week is probably a nice little bit. So let me just catch up with the chat, and then I will say goodbye, and then I'll leave Chris to say goodbye. So Dave Bassett says, Tuesday at 8 o'clock, I was at Wembley when we lost to Germany on penalties back in '96. Now, when England lost to Germany on penalties, I was working in a bar. I was 23 years old. I was working in a hotel. I was working in the public bar of a hotel, and it was absolutely packed. But what actually happened was everybody ordered a couple of drinks just before kickoff. And not one person ordered a drink during the first half. As soon as we got to half time, everybody comes to the bar. It was just like a football match, like a lot, you know, at the ground.
Yeah.
I was so rushed off my feet for 15 minutes. Suddenly, 45 minutes, not a single drink was being. They were all watching the TV. And then it actually, I mean, obviously I wanted England to win, but because I was working and I was so bored not doing any, how many times can you clean a bar? When it was a draw, I was like, oh, lovely. So I come, order more drinks. And then we get half time, extra time, more drinks, and then nothing for 15 minutes. Then it got to penalties, like, everyone comes and order the drinks. And it was like, you done like half an hour's work in like 5 minutes, and then nothing for nearly an hour. It was really funny. And everyone went home really sad because England lost on penalties.
Well, you was at 1996?
That was 1996. That was a bar. I can't remember the name of it.
Then.
Yeah. Well, you wouldn't have been in the bar then, would you?
No, I'd be fine.
Right. David Bassett, the modelling skills show sounds interesting, Penny, as does the Airfix 1 to 24.
Yeah, sounds good.
Now, it's just that this kind of start. There's a model rumoured to be coming out, the Willys Jeep. And I took one look at it. And on this particular one, there's a model made by Dragon Models. It's actually bigger than the part works. It doesn't do all the whistles and bells. Normally these part works will have electronics in them, so it'll have engine noises and stuff like that. But whereas the plastic kits don't have anything at all. But I was talking to someone at the time, and I said, look, this model is going to cost, what, 1,400 quid, 140 issues at a tenner each. So 1,400 quid. I can go out and get a plastic model. I've got to paint it. And it's going to cost, I think it was something like £200 for the model. It's larger, and because it's larger, it's going to have more space inside. So we could probably put our own electronics and LED lights in. And if you can come up with a better model than the part work for less than 1,200 quid, it's not going to cost you £1,200 to put a few electronics in. So you could theoretically come up with a better model than the part work. Yeah. And then that got me thinking about other models. So like, for example, the Bismarck. Bismarck looks absolutely fantastic. I've gone out and bought the 1 to 350 scale. And I'm going to build it as a model. But I know it's not the same scale as the Hachette Bismarck. But if I could get a few motors and lights and bits and bobs in, I've got a really good model at the fraction of the cost. And then you start to think about other part works, and you think, is there, for want of a better expression, a poor man's version? So rather than spending, you know, for example, another example is it's £1,200 to do the bus for, well, about 1,300 quid. Could you make do, if you haven't got that sort of money, to go out and buy the Revel one and put some LEDs in? And you've pretty much got the same thing, but a little bit smaller for 200 quid. Yeah, so you saved yourself over £1,000. So would you rather have 5 half-size buses with all the whistles and bells, or one big one? You know, so that's what I'm going to attempt with the Spitfire. I'm going to see if I can do, if we all decide that the Harshep Spitfire is much better than mine, bearing in mind that price is going to have it, I'm going to sort of rate it. What's the quality like, this one compared to that one? The features that I've put in, which one's better? And then price, obviously the Airfix will win on price, but it'll be interesting to know if it will win in other features. So if it turns out that the Harshep version wins hands down, that's not a problem. We've given it a go. So
that's
David, David Bass says, glad you pulled through dark days. Well, I think at the moment, you know, where they say there's light at the end of the tunnel, I think I'm still a little bit in the tunnel, but I'm right near the entrance. Dave Max is glad you stayed on. Dave Bass says, good luck with your new projects. Mike Tedstone, everything happens for a reason, even the dark times. They are there to test, but more importantly, to show you a new way. You are not the first person to say something pretty much like that. He says, you always need people, even when you are down. When you come out the other side, you see who traveled with you. Yes, that is absolutely true. Now, I know we don't do religion, but there is a poem I know of, and I'll change the names to protect the people that are offended by religion. But basically, it's a story of footprints on the sand. And this guy turns around and says, look, you said you would always travel with me. And I noticed that at certain times there's only one set of footprints. Where were you during those times? And the other person turned back and says, no, the reason there's only one set of footprints is not because I deserted you, but because I was carrying you. And I absolutely love that poem, and that sometimes keeps me going. So anyway, right. Last thing left to do then is say goodbye, Chris.
Yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you all probably Monday or Saturday to see what happens on my channel.
Lovely. I look forward to it. I'll just read this comment out so that Mike doesn't accuse me of ignoring him. Would love that in a diamond painting. I'll have a look. But then you're the diamond painting expert more than me. Right, guys, take care. And tomorrow you'll see Chris, definitely Chris Davis, hopefully Chris Campling, and I will see you, if not before Wednesday. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
Take care, guys.